the new registration process. And the presenters are Pat Dannenberg, our Director of Field Services, and Levi Knight, our District Director. So gentlemen, take it away.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Craig. I wanted to appreciate everybody that helped make tonight possible and just say thank you. And then one last reminder, right before we really get started overall, if you have your video turned on, if you don't mind turning that off, and then also making sure you're muted. That way we can have this going and do it without anyone interrupting. Our goal tonight is to really go through this entire presentation. And then afterwards, Scott Hooper will say a few things. He's our council commissioner. And then after that, we'll open it up and take questions on this entire thing that we've said tonight. And really and truly, it's a growing process, and we just don't know everything on it yet. And many of us, including myself, haven't even gone through the experience of clicking on many of these situations. But what we do want to make sure we cover tonight is we want to talk about the criminal background check process. It's also known as a CBC. We'll go through that real briefly. We'll also talk about unit renewal process, and this is how the recharter process, what we would call recharter in the past, the unit renewal process, what it's going to look like, and so forth. We'll show you where to find that. We'll also talk about youth and adult renewals, and then also briefly retouch on the organization manager.
If you need additional information after this webinar, obviously we'll post the recording. You can reach out to your local district executive. And if you scan that QR code or follow the link there to skyline.org, there are resources, there are videos, there are links to frequently asked questions. There's a plethora of resources to help guide you through all these new processes that we're going to talk about this evening.
And we'll re-show that link in a little bit.
The first thing that we're going to talk about is the criminal background check, or CBC, workflow change. And this process typically will take 3 to 5 business days. In the past, when you turned in an adult application, there was an assumption that that individual could immediately participate in supervising youth and scouting activities. That is no longer the case. With the new process, once an adult turns in an application, they're not authorized to supervise scouts until they are approved and they pass the criminal background check. So either they turn in an online or submit an online application, or they submit a paper application. The application is processed either online or through the council office. That application goes to a pending CBC status. That's the criminal background check. The applicant and the unit will actually get an email letting them know that they are pending CBC and that they should not be participating in scouting or supervising youth. Okay, that CBC request is then sent to Sterling, which is our criminal background check provider. Again, this process generally takes about 3 to 5 business days, and then once they clear the CBC, then they'll get an email saying that they're authorized to participate in scouting and everything is good. Membership is posted, they're clear. If there's some sort of issue, then they'll also be notified, and then we'll go through whatever process we need to clear the CBC if there's issues that arise. This is not applied to people that currently are participating. This is for new adults that are submitting applications that are having to pass criminal background checks.
Levi, what I really like about this new process is that you have an adult, and if you collect a paper application from them, then you submit it at the scout office. You can submit it off to registrar@montanabsa.org. You can get it to your district executive, whichever way it gets turned in. Once Justin, our council registrar, gets that application and he enters the paper application into the computer, then it instantly kicks out the pending application, right? Email over to the applicant. And what I like about that is now, comparatively to the past, now as an applicant, you're getting something as an acknowledgement and a receipt back to the applicant knowing that you're in the process of being approved. So, but like you're saying, you cannot start doing anything with youth or acting as an adult leader in any format until you get that approval email stating it. So you'll see tonight the need for making sure you have an accurate email turned in so that you can receive any pending notification from scouting is just absolutely critical.
Absolutely.
So really and truly, guys, there's a couple of things. I want to talk about that unit renewal process. And it kind of does break down in a couple of different ways. But going forward, the recharter process, the renewal process has changed. And so you have the ability for an auto renewal, a manual renewal, and unpaid renewals. And so you'll see in this section above that dashed gray line, everything that's there really deals with applications, whether it's an adult or youth, it really doesn't matter. But an email is going to go to an individual when it's time to renew their membership. And it's going to ask them, do they want to renew? And they have that opportunity to do so. But in this process, you have the opportunity to auto renew individual membership renewals and fees paid automatically by the individual, meaning they get an email, it says, would you like to renew? They go into the process, they hit yes, and they can also check a little box in there. Would you like to automatically renew every year and save your financial information? So the other is manually that they can then redo it every year. They can go into the scout office and then also separately from that option where the individual gets to control it, the unit can pay for those renewals. And once really the unit has decided, all right, do we want to pay it or do we want to let the individuals pay it? The unit would log in at my.scouting, go to the organization manager. You have to be a person in the key three of the unit, meaning the unit leader, the committee chair, the chartered organization representative, or be one of the key three or charter representative delegates. Once you're there and you go to the organization manager, you would click on unit renewal, and then you'll go into the validation information. You'll make any changes for the leaders that you need. You can update things. There's a section in there where it'll tell you about YPT status. Then you sign that page, and then you go on to another page and you'll hit submit. So one of the things we're going to do real quick though is kind of break it down and show you some of these pages.
So this is the actual unit renewal page. You find this in the organization manager in my.scouting. To find the organization manager in my.scouting, when you log in on the left-hand side, you'll have a drop down for your unit. You select the unit, and then as you see, you'll have a bunch of options there, including your unit roster, training. You'll need to click into organization manager, right? This is the page that you'll see in the organization manager. You see here all the functional roles in the unit, COR, committee chair, scoutmaster, committee members, all that sort of thing. The organization name, what the unit term is. So for most of our units, the terms are going to be fairly straightforward, but some might have a funky term that's not tied into the calendar year. It'll show the youth membership, so how many youth members there are, how many of those members are multiple, so how many of them are members in another unit, and then there are validation below. So that is going to show you who needs YPT. Now, again, with our council policy, we should not have people that are going to be not current with YPT, so it's going to function a little bit different for us. But that's where the validation for the unit renewal would work. And then below that, you have the approval essentially to, instead of like now with the e-sign process, that is where you do the approval for the charter.
Yeah. And Levi, you can hit that edit positions button, or if you don't like what you see there and you want to do it another way, you can go over to the position manager button also on the left-hand side and click there too. Now, at the very bottom of that screen is a place where you do an e-signature, and I blank, and you would fill in the name and do any online digital signature process. And then once you've digitally signed off on that, it carries over and it takes you to this this fees page. And you'll notice across the top on the prior page that we were on the, it was at the unit validation stage. And you'll see that it kind of lists it right up here in this section here. And now we've moved on to the payment section. And it's going to tell you, here's that $100 that you owe. And then it's going to tell you a subtotal and then administration fee. And then, so you'd owe $103 on this particular instance. Now, you'll see in here, it talks about the credit card. What it's doing is charging you that 3%. If you have other fees that start racking up in here, it would go higher than that. But I have not seen or know of another instance where it would go higher than the $103 right now. So you do put in at this section, either go and click on this credit card, or you'll have the option to click on bank account and put in bank account information. You'll also have the option to click on and select pay in the Scout office. And down closer towards the bottom of the page, you would put in this section, it's still highlighted as the credit card, and you can see the remainder of the credit card information at the top of this part of the page. But as you scroll down, you'll see, all right, you need to put in the email address also for that individual. And then you would also put in the billing address for that credit card. And then you have the option to save that credit card for future payments. So if you're paying with a troop or pack or a unit debit card, you can save that card by clicking that feature, which is a good feature. I like that option. I also like the ACH, because if you go the ACH route, use your banking information, you don't pay the fees.
Yeah, and you can save those, and it doesn't save the card number as is, it tokenizes it, so it's secure. There's no chance for someone to hack in and steal your credit card information. It's a very secure process to do that, and it's much easier than now where you have to worry about micro deposits and all that kind of stuff. This is a much more streamlined process when using the ACH, the bank information way of making payments.
Right. Once you put it in, you really don't get to see it again either. So, and once you've done with this page, you hit that submit button. And then you'll notice along the top, there's a little graphical error on this page. It took you back to the unit validation, but it would actually take you to the confirmation number 3 and that sliding bar up the top. And this is where you basically get to see, all right, I made my payment and the status is submitted and you've paid. And it does say, all right, who's logged in, who's done this verification. And that's important for everyone else in the unit to know, all right, who did that, but then at the Scout office for us to know who helped approve it also. So really and truly in this process to approve a unit renewal, you're approving the adults and what positions they're in. You can remove an adult from that process. And then you also have the ability to then pay for that charter fee. And then you come in and you'll get this approval. And don't forget, you can't move forward if you don't have the youth protection status current. And once it goes to this page, the next process after this is the council also then gets to receive it and accept it. And in that case, if the youth protection status is not current for current council standards that our board has voted on and approved, then we would be reaching out afterwards to let you know. But in all likelihood, in normal cases, you also get to know that before you get into the recharge process.
Now that we've talked about unit renewals, we can talk about membership renewals. So that we're going to dive into the auto renewals and how this works. And there's essentially 2 ways that we can deal with auto renewals. One of those is the unit pay, and one of those is the family or the self-pay. It's important to note here that now all registrations are for 12 months. So for example, if your current registration expires or expired on 12/31 and you renewed on January 1st, then it will run the entire calendar year until 12/31, okay? We're talking about family or self-pay. The way this will work is that an email notification and renewal link will be sent 60 days before membership expires. So that should go out around November 1st if you have a 12/31 expiration date, right? The link provided in the email will direct individuals to a renewal form on my.scouting. If you're registered in multiple positions, that means if you have a district, a unit, maybe a council position, you select their primary position, okay? Renewing in that primary position will renew automatically in the multiple positions. Individual pays with credit card, submits the renewal, and then the unit still has to approve that membership into the unit, right? That's if you're doing it all on the individual side, the family, or self individuals doing it, okay? We have the unit option. This is done in Organization Manager that we talked about, okay? In Organization Manager, the unit has to select the unit pay option. In this option, the unit key 3 would be notified each month about which members are due to renew that month. So instead of dealing with membership one time a year at Recharter, there's a possibility that a unit is dealing with renewing membership for its members every month, because there are going to be members that are having expiration of membership every month. Using the roster tab in the Organization Manager, the unit selects which members they are renewing. The unit can choose not to renew a member. That would be the opt-out. It can also change the settings, Scout Life, subscription settings, all that kind of stuff, right? Then the unit pays with a credit card or the securely stored ACH information. I believe there's also no, not the automatic renewals, never mind. Okay, so pay with credit card or pay with the ACH option for automatic renewals.
So Levi, with this, I think the big thing to me is just understanding that there's 2 routes to go, really. You have the ability to let the individual, whether it be an adult or youth or the parents, pay and keep up with their own membership. The other option is the unit pays for the membership and can use fundraising funds, can use, anything like that, right? But the unit does it and they keep track of the pay. Both options have the ability to come into the Scout office and pay. But the overall preference is to go ahead and do it here online. And of course, the risk, we've already mentioned this, is not letting your membership lapse more than a month, because that's critical and key. So, because after that 1 month time frame, you're not allowed to participate.
Correct.
So really and truly, let's take a look. If you were to log in back to the Organization Manager and My.Scouting, you'll see on that left-hand side the ability to click roster. Everybody can see that right now. You won't see the renewal tab really show up until later when it's time to renew. But right now, you'll see the roster tab show up. This helps you keep track of who needs to renew throughout the year. And you have the ability to filter it. You can also sit down and change up how the page is organized and your viewing and so forth. But you'll see on this page on the left-hand side of the roster area, there is a yellow bar there. Inside that yellow bar is a bunch of check boxes. And in essence, if somebody needs to be renewed for that month on their membership, then you would check these boxes for approving that person. Now, if you're a unit and you're choosing as a unit to auto pay that way, then you would check these boxes and you'll see that there's a payment tab. But in this particular instance, we're using the instance where the individual is having the option to pay. So these check boxes you would check there. And then over to the right, you'll see there's a little square box, rectangular box there, and it's going over the opt-out area. If somebody receives an email and it says, I don't want to do scouting any further, and they click a button in there and it says, I don't want to do scouting, then that's going to show up as the opt-out right here in this section. You'd also have the ability to opt them out here too. Now, once you check these boxes and are ready to renew a person, you'd go to the top and you'd hit that button that says renew. And once you hit that button, it'll carry over and it goes and you get to carry into this page. it goes into a unit order section, and here is everybody that's been selected, for example, in this case. And it talks about here, in this case, page. So, and then, but it also talks about down here at the bottom, you're creating a section, and it was created by this individual on this time frame. And here's the number 10. And so if I were to come up to here and count these out, you'll see there's 10 in this top section here. And then pay and no, and then you would just go to payment. So if you are needing to pay for people, you would hit go to payment. Even if you're not needing to go to pay for people, but you need to post, you need to make sure you click this go to payment. And of course, clicking on for the next page that you get to see, it'll help you then understand how you're paying. So,
yeah. So this, we talked about the organization manager. This page is critical to understand when we're talking about this new renewal process, because this is where you control who's going to have access to certain levels of this process and certain levels of the organization inside of My.Scouting. So this first page here is the registered positions. Anyone that is in the key 3, that would be the committee chair, the unit leader, so the scoutmaster, cubmaster, crew advisor, post advisor, what have you, can make changes and move people around on this page, except they cannot move the COR. Only the COR can move the COR, right? But other people, they can move around, right? Now, this is also important to look at when we're talking about validating what positions we have filled. If you have someone that you think is registered in your unit, but they're not showing up on this page, they're not registered in your unit. Simple as that, right? Now, there are 2 tabs on this page. If we click over to the next one, we have the functional roles, okay? This is important when it comes to approving applications, specifically online applications, and having other permissions, right? The COR delegate is the individual other than the charter organization representative that can approve online applications, right? And the only person that can add a COR delegate is the COR, right? But once you add them, then that person can approve online applications. Key 3 delegates have all the powers of the key 3. They can approve youth applications. They can move people around in the organization manager. And you can add up to 3 key 3 delegates that have the same level of permissions, except for the COR has grand poobah status and can do essentially whatever they want inside of this system, inside of the organization manager. Registration inquiry gives some access to reports. Advancement gives access to reports. Training gives access to reports. So these are all functional roles that give different permissions inside of My.Scouting to look at different levels of reporting and numbers and different things that you might want to have access to. So it's important if you would like to have people in those roles, but really the ones we want to focus on are the COR delegate and the key 3 delegate, because those give functional permissions to approve applications for adults and for youth.
what's really important on that page too, Levi, is, to me, if you've got a charter organization representative and they just, they're not going to log in and accept adult applications for you, this is how you fix that, right? You get somebody in there as the chartered org rep delegate, and they have the ability to also approve those adult applications for the unit. So,
correct. Your district executive has permission to add key 3 delegates, but the only person that can add COR delegate is the COR.
that's right. And that's by design, intentionally, because the only person that can accept adults for the chartering organization is that person. And so very critical role. And those are the ones that are really approving who interact with our youth. Yeah, just a couple of quick notes. Want to reiterate, all membership terms are for 12 months. The new membership renewal will only have a 1-month lapse time frame. So if somebody is getting notices 2 months out to renew their membership, They skip past a whole month, then they're going to drop. And what that really means is they're going to have to reapply to Boy Scouts of America, meaning they'll have to turn in a whole new paper application, or they will have to turn in an online application and reapply through that process. So it's very critical and key, because once they're dropped and have to reapply, they're not allowed to participate. They can't go on a troop function. They can't go out on a pack camp out. They can't go to a DIN meeting, a troop meeting. They've chosen to say, I don't want to participate right now, even if it's for a short term, they've just chosen that. So the unit renewal will only have that 1 month lapse also. So that's critical to know and understand too. So if a unit chooses to wait until February 1st this next year to renew, then on February 1st, they're not allowed to meet as a unit and do anything at that point either. So, and then these emails, Levi and I we cannot iterate enough how critical it is to make sure everybody in your unit has emails. You can update those emails in Scoutbook. You can update them in other places through a member's profile on my.scouting. They can log in that way. So there's ways to get an email updated. You can also reach out to registrar at montanabsa.org, share your name, phone number, email, address, what unit you're with, and say, please update my email. And that's an option also. And you can also ask for any other personal details to be updated too. So parents can always opt out, and the unit can also opt out members too. So that's critical and key. Don't ever forget the parent has that button when they get the initial email to click on it. If they don't click on it, they're going to get lots of prompts from scouting. They're also going to get reached out to possibly from the unit, and then also from the scout office. So
I have a question.
Okay, we'll take
Rebecca, we're
questions
taking
just a
questions
little
at the
bit.
end.
Oh, okay.
Some more notes. Primary registrations outside of the unit will still need to be renewed by the unit. So this would apply to individuals whose primary registration is with the district or the council. Those would renew in the summer. Okay. A data sync was done, and this actually was completed in March to align all multiple and functional registrations to the primary expiration date. Okay. So there are some people that have a unit registration, have multiple registration. They will expire during the summer, and the unit needs to essentially renew that person to ensure that their registration goes through because their registration is attached to the unit. Okay. And again, we're going to reiterate, this process is 100% reliant on having correct email addresses. This is why during the recharter process, we had to collect parent-guardian information and correct parent-guardian relationships that were broken, because without email information, the whole notification system does not work, and this whole system of auto renewals, unit renewals, individual family renewals doesn't work. So please make sure that we're collecting email addresses, that email addresses are up to date, that if someone changes an email address, that we collect that information. Again, you can update it yourself. We can email it to registrar@montanabsa.org. We have to ensure that we have correct contact information for our members. Oh, jeez. For the next slide is going to say, for additional help. Again, you can scan that QR code. It'll take you to skyline.org/resources/online registration. Again, there are video walkthroughs. There are frequently asked question pages. There are guides for your role to walk through essentially every aspect of the new system, step-by-step guides on how to do anything that you can imagine with this new thing, this new system that we have. So very helpful resource there. Scan the page, click on the link, and that will be immensely helpful for you.
Now, Levi, just to help clarify too, that page is good for the application manager and how to go through some of the other functions for that page. There's a couple of things for the organization manager on there and all that. Some of this new process, though, is not on that page, but some of the other stuff in with the new process for unit and membership renewal is affiliated on this page and with this QR code. And we will share these links out in a separate email going out to all units, and we'll share the videos and so forth from tonight with links to those that have been posted on YouTube. We'll share all this kind of stuff, but we thought it was important to, if somebody had questions or wanted to see some of that stuff that we're mentioning, to at least share these links tonight.
So how will the Montana Council help roll out this process? Obviously, at the district and council level and the unit level, we'll continue to provide training. We will continue to update on new features and any other information that we learn that comes out of the National Council. We will help with reminding parents to register, to update their contact information, to opt into auto renewals. We'll be engaged with self-pay and auto renewals, and we'll share reports. With this new system, there is a whole plethora of new reports that are available to us that we will be able to share to assist with unit pay, auto renewals, everything that we need to make this as smooth as possible. So we'll share as much as we can.
So as a unit, what can you do? It's very highly encouraged that you check to make sure My.Scouting is set up all the way that you need to. Check that your Be a Scout pin is updated. Check that you have all the right positions filled. Check that the right people are in the right positions. And then make sure if you need to have any delegates, give them the authority also to help you in the process. So if, for example, you have a new member coordinator in your unit, then you're going to want to make sure that they have Key 3 delegate access or the chartered org access. And the reason I say that is because that's really important for them to be able to help approve applications if they're helping do any form of recruiting for the unit and so forth. But so My.Scouting, make sure it's set up all the way. As a unit, you need to make sure that you identify who is paying. Are you going to make the parents and the youth take care of their own pay, or are you going to make sure the unit takes care of paying? Okay. You also, if the unit is paying, you need to make sure you understand what your process is going to be. Get all the parents and leaders together, talk about how you want to handle that. And one of the things that you get to figure out is paying attention and who's going to pay attention month to month wise on when somebody has their membership expiring. Right now, if you look at things, I do think that membership is mostly tied for a lot of units in December still. However, as we go forward over the next couple of years, you'll see it come into play with more of a fall-time membership. So the biggest thing you can do is make sure you communicate with parents what the expectations are. So critical and key. You have to communicate. It's like that for any camp out. It's like that for any DIN meeting, PEC meeting, when awards are being handed out. It's critical that you communicate that. And this is just as critical to help others understand what your process is and explain that.